What's up, guys? This is Bolt Struck with Duck, and we have a lot to talk about. So, getting right into it, the three things we're going to cover in this video is the Super Bowl matchup, the DK Metcalf to the Chargers rumors, and the Raiders hiring Pete Carroll. So, let's go over the Raiders hiring Pete Carroll first. So surprising hire. If I were a Raiders fan, I would call this the best hire they could do at this point, but overall kind of a medium hire. So, what do I mean by that? I mean, I didn't expect Pete Carroll to ever get a head coaching job again, let alone the Raiders job. So I thought as soon as the Raiders didn't land Vrabel and then didn't land Ben Johnson, and then the weirdness with Bill Belichick, I'm like, oh, they're done. Like, there's no one left. Um, and so then Pete Carroll came out of nowhere. So that's why I call it like a medium hire. Is they missed out on all of the big guys. I think Vrabel, I think Ben Johnson were clearly the top of this coaching free agency class. And when they missed out on them, I think they did a reasonable good job on picking up one of the best candidates left, assuming he can get back to form, right? That's the thing with Pete Carroll. He's old. He's been out of coaching. Last year he did not coach, and even the last few years in Seattle, little weird, right? So it's like, how good is he gonna be? It's almost like a more wild card version of Bill Belichick without Bill Belichick's peak. So really weird. So then from there, the rumor is them going for Russell Wilson, who of course has history, for better or for worse, with Pete Carroll. And also the rumor is the Raiders were interested in Russell Wilson that year he went to the Broncos. So yeah, so that's a weird one, because Russ, it's like very, very back and forth the last few years. So let me know in the comments below, how do you grade this hire for the Raiders, from the perspective of Chargers fans? And how scary would a Raiders team be with Pete Carroll and Russell Wilson in 2025, right? Not 2018 or whatever. 2016, 17. Yeah. So medium good hire, kind of a sneaky candidate out of nowhere. As long as the Raiders didn't land one of the big guys, I'm happy as a Charger fan. I'm fine with that. So now getting into the DK Metcalf to the Chargers rumors. So this one's a little surprising to me because I don't know where it came from. I've been on the T. Higgins train this whole time. To me, that's a little weird with someone like T. Higgins coming into the free agency market, even guys like Chris Godwin coming into the free agency market. It seems weird that the Chargers would want to trade for a wide receiver, especially considering they're going to have a ton of cap space. So that shouldn't be an issue. So it's like, why give up an asset? With that being said, I would, of course, take DK Metcalf for Justin Herbert. I would take myself at wide receiver for Justin Herbert at this rate. But yeah, I mean, I would have no complaints assuming you give up something reasonable. What that package could be, I really have no clue. I don't know if that would be packaging a player. I don't know if that would just be sending something like a fourth rounder. I'd do a fourth rounder for DK Metcalf. I would still go for T. Higgins in free agency because again, we have the money to spend. You're not giving up any assets, and DK Metcalf is good. T. Higgins, just with how good he's been with Jamar Chase, you're like, oh, this clearly could be a number one. So I really like T. Higgins. So my assumption is that DK Metcalf is the backup plan. If they can't land T. Higgins in free agency, they trade for DK Metcalf. Who knows? Maybe they even go out and sign that, Chris Godwin or kind of a secondary, tertiary receiver in the free agency market. So that's my thoughts. Again, let me know in the comments what you'd be willing to give up for DK Metcalf. Do you think that's plan A, or do you think that's plan B after T. Higgins? And what do you feel comfortable assuming it's draft compensation? You giving up a fourth? Are you giving up a third? Giving up a second? Let me know in the comments down below. And finally, got the nightmare Chiefs versus Eagles Super Bowl. Super Bowl nobody wanted to watch. So we'll touch on the refereeing thing a little bit. I mean, it's one of those things where it's like, how many coincidences could you have? I'm not a big NFL is rigged guy. I think it's very hard to rig a sport, in any meaningful way like that. I think you can have, like, in basketball, the big talk has been rigging things like stats. Um, it just is very coincidental how many calls the Chiefs get, and you got to feel for Josh Allen at this point, where it's like, to me, it looked like he got the first down, and this is two playoff games in a row for the Chiefs where there was a pivotal call and the analysts actually disagreed with the refs. How often do you hear that? For a fact the NFL is telling these analysts, like, don't make our refs look bad, because the NFL already knows there's a problem with refereeing and that people are calling it out. So it's like, these calls have to be pretty egregious if that's, again, two playoff games in a row where a big play was decided by the refs and disagreed by the announcer. So super refreshing to hear. I mean, great job by the announcers, but it's, again, that's how it's a problem. I'm not going to go as far as to say, they didn't deserve to be in the Super Bowl or didn't, deserve to win that game. Because the Chiefs are a great team. They're obviously greatly coached. Mahomes is obviously awesome, but it's like something's got to give at some point. It's like they gotta lose one of those pivotal calls at some point. The pushback you get from Chiefs fans is that statistically they don't get that many calls. It's just when the calls are called, right? And it's like, you swear sometimes they throw flags as like a just in case. The big one is like Mahomes turnovers always getting overcalled, where it's like you see the flag coming after, the pick is kind of an example, and it's like a just in case sort of thing. But again, I'm not huge on the NFL being rigged thing, but I do believe that they can pass down information in terms of like favoring certain, not even certain teams, but maybe favoring certain outcomes or keeping the game more interesting. Because these calls, a lot of them, like roughing the passer, are subjective, so you could really never prove it, unless a ref came out and said this and had an investigation and all that sort of thing. But again, too many coincidences. But yeah, Chiefs, Eagles in the Super Bowl. Have to root for the Eagles, unfortunately. That's one of the last teams you want to root for, especially in the NFC. But so I'll probably have a video next week going into depth on how I think the game's going to go. So we got the Pro Bowl coming up. Real quick, Joey Bosa ended up making it because Khalil Mack dropped out. Very weird that Joey Bosa was even close to consideration. I mean, on a very poor season. But I digress. Pro Bowl isn't interesting anymore. But so those are all my thoughts, kind of recapping semi-Chargers related news. Again, let me know your thoughts on everything in the comments down below. How you feel about the Raiders hiring of Pete Carroll, how you feel about the DK Metcalf to the Chargers rumors, and what are your thoughts, predictions, and wants for this Super Bowl matchup, Chiefs versus Eagles? Let me know everything down in the comments below. Make sure to like the video, subscribe for more Chargers content, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Thanks.